All right, here we go. Scott, we've got episode 8, How to Be a Good Partner. Part 1 of a 2-part series. We're going to tease a little bit on how to get good partners at the end of this episode, but we're going to save an entire episode dedicated to how to get good partners. So here we go, Scott. I love this topic so much, how to be a good partner. It's multivariate, like a lot of our topics tend to be. And it's an intriguing question because there's no right or wrong answer. There's only what's right for your partnership. How to bring the best out of someone is a recipe that I think has some key common ingredients no matter who you're playing with, right? It's got that salt, that pepper, that butter. But then from there, what you're going to add in is going to be specific to that partnership. And by the way, right when you think you've nailed that recipe, Scott, it can change on you. Perfect example. I was playing with Jaume Martinez-Vic in MLP last year. I was the captain of the New York Hustlers. I said 4th round, the 47th pick of the draft. I want that guy. He's a good singles player. Bet he's going to be a great doubles player. And we played together and it was fireworks. Fast forward a couple months to the beginning of the year. We played the PPA Masters, PPA Desert Ridge and Mesa together. And he's different. He's like calmer. And I'm like, Jaume, where's the fire? He's like, no, I found that as I'm getting better, I'm playing better, like a little bit calmer, right? So it's this intriguing moving target. And I have been so blessed with so many amazing partnerships just this year alone, learning from players like Georgia Johnson. I partnered with her at the beginning of the year, played with Andre Daescu, Gabe Tardio. I've learned a ton from playing with Sarah Ansbury. Very blessed to have some incredible partnerships and to be able to hopefully pass along some wisdom to our listeners today. So Scott, talk to me philosophically. What does it mean to you to be a good partner?
It's a big question, which is what I enjoy doing on these things. To me, being a good partner, there's a lot of context and perspective around that, because it's like being a good partner at the pro level is one thing. Being a good partner at the park playing rec is another thing. Being a good partner when you're playing with your spouse or with family is a whole different thing. And I would say at the pro level, it's pretty easy to predict. It's like, well, we're wanting to win more than anything. But when you're playing rec or when you're playing with family members, I think you need to ask, you kind of need to look at your partner and ask this one thing. It's like, how badly do they care about the outcome of this game? Are they trying to win? Are they trying to have fun? Mm-hmm. Are they just here for the art of the game and they want to get in their highlights? It's like, figure out what your partner wants and then see if you can kind of adapt to that and meet them on their level. To me, that's kind of the first thing about being a good partner is, can I figure out where my partner wants to go and can I meet them there? And because that looks different in different settings.
I am obsessed with that. I didn't see that coming, that you were going to go in that direction. And you're totally right. Understand their motivation first. And I sometimes show up to a practice session and I haven't made my motivation clear. And I've got my friends who are used to playing against me, like screaming in my face, fist pumping. And I'm like, whoa, this is some aggressive energy for 7 a.m. I was just looking to work on my bounce speed ups this morning, but they were expecting the Jill that they normally get. And so sometimes I even need to like make my own motivations more clear. So I love that, Scott.
Yeah, I think for amateur players, it's like if most of your play is at the park, I think it's important to figure out, like, because there are a lot of people where they care a lot about the result. Where if you and I are at the park playing rec, we don't care that much about the result of practice. Like I don't typically, because I play in matches that really, I do think are important. But to them, this is when they play. They're playing hard. So to be a good partner to someone like that, I want to play high percentage. I don't want to have a bunch of highlights. I'm not going to hit a bunch of tweeners or screw around. If they're working on their game and they're trying to get better, I'm going to try to support that. It's like if I'm playing with someone who, this happens quite a bit where I practice, is I'll be playing with someone who is clearly the 4th best player on the court. And they're a little nervous or they're not sure, like, oh, can I hang? and I try to be extra supportive with them, make sure they have fun, and kind of show them, yeah, you can play on the court with anyone. But it is, you got to be a lot of different people, and so figuring out what your partner's motivation is, I think, is super important.
So we talk about, salt, pepper, butter. We've got these like three key ingredients into being a good partner. So number one would be understanding your partner's motivation first. So let's call that salt. What's the pepper? What's the other, like, okay, every time you step on a court with someone, you got to check this box too, or ask yourself this question.
Yeah, so I think the next thing is different people have different levels of intensity and different levels of connection in the partnership. Some people need strong eye contact and a paddle tap and words every point. Some people like just, let me do my thing, you do your thing. And if there's a big point towards the end, the intensity will build. And I think that's pretty common in the pro game, where it's like, there's certain points are more important than others, and that's where you'll get the.
If I had to guess, I'd put me in the first bucket and you in the second bucket.
I will paddle tap, and I will meet the patient where they are, and it's like one of my good friends who I started playing with, Aaron D'Onofrio. He is a
I love it.
Paddle tap after the point, paddle tap immediately after, also paddle tap before the next point starts, and three more in between. And it's like it's fun. You feel connected to your partner. So I can do that. I enjoy it. But I do coming from tennis, I do recognize some points are more important than others, and I do enjoy the build. And so it's like I won't naturally get super intense at 1-1-2 in early in game one, but I understand that some people are, and so you have to you want to match the energy of your partner.
Fun fact, I started my pickleball career on the courts in Northern California of Mitchell Park in Palo Alto with Aaron D'Onofrio. So that's really funny to hear that name. Love Aaron. And yes, he's a very positive, uplifting paddle tapping partner. All right, so number one, that salt is, understand your partner's motivation. And then we talk about number two being this notion of adapting and meeting them at their level, right?
So yeah, to me, I meant that in between points. Like, what are we doing? Like, what is our intensity in between points? The other aspect of this, and it's like, and I don't know if we're ordering them, because I also include how am I going to play? What is my style going to be? And so what I mean by that is I need to be a good partner, I need to match what my style is with what my partner's style is, because I'm fortunate that I get to play with a bunch of very good alpha left side guys, where it's like, okay, my job is the complementary right side roll, make balls, don't miss, do that. But there's also, like, if I'm playing more equal gender doubles, it's like I could be 50-50. If I'm playing in, gender doubles where I'm the stronger player, I could be a little more alpha and might need to be. And then, maybe if I'm playing mixed, I might be, even more there. So it's like figuring out what role I need to play and playing that role, not stepping in front of my, 25-year-old pro guy partner and taking a ball out of the middle and not putting it away when he could have crushed it. Or even when I play split age with Jessie, same thing there. It's like, don't step in front of her when she could have slammed it. Like, just play, adjust to who your partner is.
So we're going to understand their motivation. We're going to understand their temperament, their energy style, so to speak. And then we're going to understand their play style. Like, do you think a lot of altercations at the rec level and mixed specifically could be avoided if the guy and the woman looked at each other and went, hey, so if the ball's high and it's here and it's my forehand and I'm the guy and I'm on the left, I'm probably going to step over, maybe 3 to 5 feet. Like, let's draw a line 3 feet into your zone to take that. Is that okay with you? How do you view this?
That communication at the rec level is tough, because I don't think a lot of rec level players understand or agree with the way pro players play mixed.
Mm.
I think there's a lot of rec players that are like, this is my side, that's your side. I'd
Oh,
appreciate it if I could play my side. I came here to play. I didn't come here to watch you play.
oh,
And we're both the
totally.
same level. And so why don't you, let me take this ball. And I am not disagreeing with that at the rec level because what are we did just we all came here to play, and it's like no, we're not playing for money or anything. We both want to win. You could let me play my
So
side.
you think in rec pickleball, right? Two strangers, or maybe they've played together a couple times. They show up, they get paired together, guy and a girl. Guy starts on the left, girl starts on the right. They're of equivalent skill. You're totally fine with that's my side on the right and that's my side on the left. And let's draw that line right in the center line and let's play our sides. Is that what you're saying? What you're suggesting?
I'm
I have
suggesting
I have a suggestion, but go ahead.
I'm suggesting that that's fine. But I don't think I don't really think that's the default. I think the default is the left side person is going to be the alpha. But you need to communicate it in advance. If you communicate it in advance, then it's like then just do that. But I'm saying that communication could be, well, I'm gonna play my side, and I'd like to play today. I would prefer you not to come over and take every ball. I think that's in a rec play amateur situation. That is a completely legitimate request and expectation.
Yeah, my feeling is each player should play the left when they're on the left, like it's the left. Does that make sense? So if I'm the female and I started on the
Fair.
right and then I'm on the left and we're not stacking, play the left like it's the left. Like, does that make sense? Like I always, even when I'm playing pro and I end up on the right and it's rec play and I'm with a weaker left side player, I'm still just going to play the right like it's the right and let the left player play like it's the left. So that's kind of my feeling in amateur and rec play is like, hey, let your partner do their thing when they're on the left, but guess what? You get to do the exact same thing when you're on the left.
I like that a lot. It's like that's a even more advanced version. And if you can talk to your partner and communicate that, I think that's great because then both people are getting to practice, and it's like working on your right side skill set is something everyone needs to do. So that in a practice rec situation, that makes a ton of sense.
So we have salt, pepper, butter. We're understanding our partner's motivation, we're understanding their temperament, and then we're understanding their play style. What if your play styles are like wildly different?
Yeah, so that's
what is an ideal partnership? Is an ideal partnership like two opposite play styles? Like, hey, you have good counters, so I'll just speed up the ball and get you killed, and you're going to counter. Like, what kind? Talk to me about styles. Do you want two people with identical styles?
typically not. I feel like some of the best teams have an aggressive player and I think kind of we usually think of the right side as the consistent player who's making balls to set up the left side player. But those things are changing at the pro level. Those things are changing now because we're seeing some right side players develop that are so strong that they are the more dangerous offensive player in some of these teams. So I don't necessarily think it has to be one way or the other. In my a lot of the tournaments I've played or a lot of the partners I've played with guys who rarely drive the ball. It's almost always a drop. It's get to the kitchen, play as a very long point, and speed. Once you earn the speed up, kind of my early philosophy. That's just how you play. So I would say my partner and I played very similar styles.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we play very long points. It's very predictable, and we're just saying we're going to do this. And if you can't, and we have good hands, if you can't hit through us, you're going to have trouble because we can dink all day and we can enforce our style on this match.
Mm.
And so I have had success with very similar styles, but it is fun to play with people who just love to drive and crash and bang the ball. Because then I'm like, okay, I can as soon as I see them get the ball, here I come. I'm going to run in. I'm going to try to cause havoc and chaos. And so I don't think there is one way. I think you could see benefits to um, to both.
I agree with you. I think roles are, I wouldn't even say changing, I'd say roles are dying because you have players like Gabe Tardio on the right, who is a speed up and attacking machine. And I think the game is moving towards this notion, at least at the pro level, of like a dead dink's going to get punished. A high ball's going to get punished. Doesn't matter if you're on the right, doesn't matter if you're on the left. So it's really fun to watch that game, at least at the pro level, evolving so much.
So Jill, I have a question for you. When I came from tennis, I always considered myself a really good partner. My goal as a partner was to get the most out of my partner. And I was rarely ever like mean or short with, or like I was always someone people like to play with. I could get the most, I could win with just if it's like all of my 8 tennis friends, I could just take any one of them and me and that person are going to win. And it wasn't because I was better than everyone else. I was just a good partner to them. I struggled with that in pickleball. And I've been thinking, because of this episode, a lot about why, but I'm wondering if you, how were you as a tennis partner versus how you are as a pickleball partner?
I am the total opposite. I was an awful tennis partner. I was awful. And in pickleball, if you're listening at home and you haven't had a chance to watch me play, I'm known as a really supportive, effusive, like just always positive type of partner. And I think in tennis, I was just emotionally probably stunted. I was 16 years old when I started playing at Pepperdine. I graduated at 20 and had a lot of growing up to do. And I had to learn the hard way that, not supporting your partner creates unideal outcomes. So like, hey, you can win or lose with a smile or not a smile. It's up to you to kind of decide which approach you want to take. You can win or lose being a positive partner or not. So like, which do you want to choose? And I think it's really interesting that you had the inverse happen in pickleball. Why do you think that is?
So here's what I think. Pickleball has so many more decision points, so much more shot selection. There's just a lot more going on. Tennis, someone's going to serve at 100 miles at you. Mm-hmm. You have to try to return it cross court, and the play is just going to happen. There is not a ton of time or decision making. You either can do it or you can't. And when your partner misses, it's usually a miss of execution, not of wrong shot. And that is easy to accept. I can accept that, you just couldn't make that shot. It was, their shot was too good. In pickleball, it's like, well, my partner had all the time in the world, had all these choices, and they're not making the right one. Okay, that's cool. The first one. Same thing happens again. You're not making the right choice. And then you get it a third time, and now you go for the hero shot. And that to me, and this is my flaw, but that kind of gets to me. And when I first started watching pro pickleball, there were a few characters out there who like, you watch how they treat their partners on the pickleball court, and you're like, geesh, that's a little rough, be nicer. And coming from tennis, I was just used to being nice, but then I saw that until I became that, unfortunately, like a little bit. And I see why, because it's easy to accept an execution error. And it's like harder for someone like me accepting that's just the wrong decision error. So that is, to me, that's one of the biggest challenges of being a good partner at the pro level, because pro pickleball is decisions, right? It's like the best decision makers, the best shot selection players are kind of the ones who have the advantage and win. And so if you're going to play at that level, you need to make those decisions. And if you don't, there could be a variety of feedback.
Yeah, no, I totally respect that. And there are so many moments in my pickleball career, especially lately, where I'll be like, okay, we just literally said we were going to return to the other player, and you just returned to the wrong person for the third time in a row. Like, how much more like differently do I need to say this, right? Like, I feel you. I just now am on like autopilot to be like, that's okay. Next one. And like ask questions, right? Like, okay, where do you want to return? I'm now using like, I think of language as the wardrobe of our soul. And if I can get my partner to say to me what I essentially want to hear, like kind of like guide them to telling me, right, what I want them to think, if it's coming from their mouth, like, hey, I need a return to this person, that's going to be more powerful than me repeating, you need a return to this person. I got to help guide my partners to the right solution, but themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I think a lot of that. It's nice if that gets done before the match, so that mid-match we can say, "Ooh, Plan A of return of this person maybe not working. Let's go to Plan B and hit it over here." And then that still feels like a we thing. And hey, we're going to make this change, but we did talk about it earlier. So we were doing Plan A. Let's. What do you think Plan B might be? So if we ask, then maybe we can get you can get the partner to answer.
I know when I'm slipping into you language, we're in trouble. Like, it's all got to be we. Where should we return? Should we alter plans? Should we make a change? What do you think about this word that I hate hearing on the court, which is sorry?
Yeah, I one of the things when I first started pickleball, people would say there's no sorries in pickleball. And they usually meant getting hit with the ball or for a net cord or for anything like that. It's like, no sorries. I'm like, okay, I'm down. I'm cool with that. But it's a hard it's so instinctual. So I will leave people to it. Like, I'm fine. If I don't hear sorry from anyone in pickleball, I'm like, good. And then if I do, I'm like, well, that's fine too.
I don't like it. I much prefer, you see Vivian David do this a lot. She taps her chest and goes, that's on me, or that's me, or my bad. And I much prefer that versus the sorry.
Oh, you mean to her partner?
She's saying it like, that's on me, my bad. She's not looking at her partner and saying, I'm so sorry, or I'm sorry. Like, I don't love the I'm sorry. Because go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, it's a pretty, and this is another topic I did want to bring up today, specifically for you, Jill. This may not be fun for you. After a miss, when someone misses a shot, and me personally, I need to process that. I need to grieve. And it's going to take me a few seconds. And after that, it's like, so, pickleball happens fast. So for 5 seconds, let me grieve the stupid or poorly executed or just bad shot I just made. And then I can give me a few seconds. Then I can start focusing on the next point. And my advice for you, because here's what happened. Here's what I see you do a lot, because we are on the same team. I get to observe you. We've spent many hours together in a highly competitive situation.
Yes.
And you don't give your partners time to grieve their misses. Mm-hmm. You immediately come over the top with positive.
Yes.
With overly positive. And the intent is good. The timing, it could improve. Give people time to grieve, to process that. Because if I'm processing my grief and I'm processing your, to me, in the moment, illogical positivity, now I've got two things going on. I'm not going to be ready for the next point.
No, I actually was going to bring this up. So it's funny that you brought it up. For those of you listening at home, we don't always exchange, actually never, notes. These are pretty organic conversations. And I was playing with... So I agree with you, because the story I was going to tell was I was playing with Megan Fudge 3 tournaments ago. Oh, we were in Chicago. Yeah. So 3 tournaments ago, and we were losing a match we really, really should not have lost, in my opinion. And we ended up losing. And in that match, I said to her after she made a mistake, it's all good. And she looked me in the eye and went, it's not all good. Don't say that. And I was really taken aback, and I was like, I don't think I said anything. I just like walked to my side of the court. And that was a wake up call to me, right? That like we all give the love we want to receive. And when I missed my first serve in the Dream Breaker in, where were we? Virginia Beach against the Night Owls. And I've never missed a serve in a Dream Breaker. I hadn't missed a serve all day long. The whole bench erupted with, it's all good. It's all good. Because at that point, I think everyone knew like that's the love I want to receive. But I have to be cognizant that not everyone wants illogical positivity when they really just want to grieve that they're having a tough time. So I'm glad you brought that up.
And really it is, and I do mean it's the timing. It's really just timing. Save it, give the person, and not more than 4 or 5 seconds, because that's the only time, you only have that much time between points. But it's like, in order for me to get ready for the next point, I have to first process, what the heck was that? What am I doing? Okay. Now you can come at me with some positivity about the next point. But if the first thing I get is, oh, it's so good, it's like,
no, it's not.
No, it really isn't, and we all know it. And so this just goes into like our second point of the day, which is like you need to match what your partner needs in between points. Because we need positivity, but it's like, the timing of when you give it and how you give it is, there's levels to that.
Yeah, and I just think we give the love we want to receive, right? That's like what I want to hear. I want to be a goldfish. That's how I play. It's like, made a mistake, next point. Because the mistake's in the past. I can't change it. And grieving for it for 5 seconds, which is a really long span of time, especially in Major League Pickleball, like, we don't have that time. I've got to reframe my mentality right here, right now. But again, we give the love we want to receive. So I love that you're bringing this up. And then there are players like who want to grieve a lot after a point and want to dissect the point with you. And this drives me nuts, right? Like I played with a top 20 male player earlier this year. And it was like after every single point, Scott, like, no matter what I did, he wanted to tell me like where I should have gone differently, why we lost the point. And it wasn't even in this spirit of, Jill, you messed up. It was just too much information. And like, maybe that's the way he needs to process, but I'm like just sitting here trying to like be a field player, be a goldfish, be positive. I don't need to do like this in-depth analysis.
I am guilty of that. I have been told by my mixed partners, Scott, it is too much information. Could you not talk to me about the point after the point? And I just, right. And this goes to, am I bending to what my partner needs, or is he bending to what I need? Right. And I always want to be the person who, well, I'm going to give you what you need. I can take care of my own, what I need between points. It's like my style is to adjust to your style. That's in tennis. That's how I was, and that's how I would like to be in pickleball. Now it's much more complicated in pickleball. But that is, to me, I think I like that idea. It's like I'm going to adjust to what you need, partner, whoever that partner is. I have varying degrees of success with that, but I can strive for it.
I'm playing with my sister this week in the APP Newport Beach, and she is so hard on herself. Oh my gosh. I mean, she could hit a winner, a clean, like forehand drive winner, and look at me and go, I cut it too close to the line. Like, she'll find something literally negative to say about every single shot she hits. And so I sat her down yesterday. I'm like, look, this is my expectation. You can be as mean to yourself as you want. I want paddle taps after every single point and eye contact. We have to do that after every point. And then you can go and you can be as mean to yourself as you want. And I'm just thinking about like everything we're talking about now and maybe some conversations I should be having with her in addition to the paddle tap and the eye contact.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we need to get ready for the next point, and we have I don't know, less than 10 seconds to do it.
Yeah.
So what's the best way? What's the best way to do that? And I think it's a condensed version of what used to happen in tennis. I mean, tennis, you have a minute between points. It's like it's like there's a timeout after every point. You have so much like going and getting the ball and stuff. So you can process. Like people that come from tennis, you've kind of been trained that you have you can process the previous point. Here, you don't have time to. You don't really have the time. You have to process it very quickly, and then move on, get on to the next one. But that's kind of the fun of pickleball. It feels continuous. And that continuous play, what's great about that is when you get in the zone, you can stay in the zone. And I mean, really, that's what this should be a topic for one of these in the future. But like the reason we're all showing up to play pickleball is how good it feels to be in the zone. And the speed that pickleball happens is one of the things that helps kind of it keeps it accessible. I don't want too much time between. I want to start the next point and get going again.
I was drilling to that point. I was drilling with my sister this morning. I was like, yeah, let's just play like an hour and a half. That'll be perfect because I've taken some time off after MLP Vegas. So we start at 8 a.m. I look down, at my watch about an hour and a half later. It had been 2 hours and 25 minutes. And I mean, it was like the blink of an eye. Like you said, we're in that flow state. It's what makes it so fun.
Yes. Well, both you and your sister do not take
water breaks.
Like she said, hey, Scott, can we hit for like another 45 minutes? I'm like, sure. And it's like, it was hitting for 45 minutes. There was not a stop. It was get the next ball. And I don't think I was ever ready for the next point before she was.
There is something when my sister and I get on a court, we do all of our hydration prior to stepping on the court. We don't even take water breaks and we just play for 3 hours. That is ill-advised. If you're listening at home, do not do that. But her endurance is otherworldly, and I guess it inspires me to make bad choices.
Well, we're talking about like how to things we can do to be a good partner, what being a good partner looks like. We can probably bring up a few things of what not to do. I mean, I talked a little bit about why it's harder, like why it was harder for me to be a good partner in pickleball than it was in tennis, because it's like, I'm now judging every decision that my partners are making. But, there's other ways to not be a good partner. It's like, I think, and this is something else that I'm also guilty of, is coaching your partner while you're playing.
Oh, nonstop. I do it nonstop to my sister. She's going to kill me.
Yeah, it is like, I think we can both agree it's not optimal to get the most out of your partner. And many people find it super annoying. Now, in the amateur ranks, even more annoying because it's like the person, at least you and I have some expertise. The people at the park, it's like, and they're coaching you. So it is really, it's like, do you know George Avery? He used to have a shirt that said, if I'm not paying you, please don't coach me.
Oh, I love that.
Right? That was his pickleball shirt.
If you are at the rec courts and if you are a female, there is a very high likelihood that you are going to be coached by a man that is equivalent to your skill or even slightly worse. So in those cases, my recommendation would be to look him in the eye with a big smile and just say, no, thank you. He's going to go, what? What? What'd you just say? And you're going to go, oh, no, thank you. I have a coach. No, thank you. And just with a big smile. With a big smile. That's the cleanest way to do it. And that goes both ways. If you're a guy getting coached by a guy or a woman, like, no, thank you. What do you think of that, Scott?
Yeah, I would. If I had that problem, I would find a way for me to get out of it. I don't think I could do no thank you. That would feel too more confrontational than I would want to be with whoever's doing that. So I would want to find I would use sarcasm and humor because that's just my way. But honestly, like it's funny. The one person that coached me a lot while playing when I was coming up was Kevin Booth. And I didn't mind it when he was doing it because I actually respected most of what he was saying. He's like, oh, he's actually giving me good answers. So I'm going to, it's like I was happy to, when I was in the learning mode, I was happy to have it. Now, like, and it's like he kind of, you know, like, so it's not always a bad thing. Like if you like what the person's saying, or if there's some value to it, then it's okay. But those are few and far between.
Fun fact, my sister was playing with Kevin Booth the other day here at TTC, and she was like, there's this really good senior pro. But it was kind of weird because he was giving me advice. I was like, what's his name? She's like, Kevin Booth, but he was really good, and I liked a lot of his advice. So I see your point if the advice is good. But like when I say the no thank you thing, I'm not saying it confrontational. I'm saying like, hey, honestly, no thank you. I have a coach. Right? Because as a coach, my least favorite thing is when a student comes to me doing the opposite of what we just worked on. And I go, hey, what's going on in your game? And they go, oh, well, this guy I was playing with the other night, this guy I met told me to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, if he told you to jump off a bridge, like, are you also going to do that? So this notion of no, thank you, I have a coach is respectful to your coach and the time, the effort, and the finances you have put in to your education.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Okay, can I ask another question?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about during the point communication. Okay, and let's like the mine, me, you, go out. Okay, this sort of thing. You tell me what you like from your partner.
I have huge pet peeves with some partners with whom I play, and they yell like, run, up, get it. And I'm like, no shit. Like, yeah, I'm running. Like, what does it look like I'm doing to you right now? Like, I know that it just hit there's a let cord and the ball's dribbling over. Like, thanks. Thank you so much for that. So I like certain communications. I do have a little pet peeve when I'm being told obvious things on the court. I do think when the return is hit to you and you and your partner are about to hit the third, it's really helpful if your partner says drive or go. We talked about the word watch being not one of our favorite words, but some type of communication on the third is pretty critical. If you don't want to say drive or go or watch, you can say me or you. That's helpful, like just calling that out. I think helping your partner with out balls and yelling out is super helpful. I know that's something that bothers a lot of rec players, but I would say don't stop that. Like practice calling out balls because it's good for your recognition and cognition too. Other than that, yeah, did I touch on all of those? What are your thoughts, and do you have any pet peeves when it comes to on-court communication?
I do have pet peeves, but it's like I don't think my pet peeves are as important as the reasons why I think people should do certain things and not others. So the me you part. I think for balls that are in the middle of the court and potentially could be taken by either person, I like the me you stuff. Balls that are kind of to my outside foot that you couldn't possibly get if you came over. It's like, and you're still saying me you. If you're doing that too much, then what's happening is now your communication lacks value. And so if you're doing all that, and if it lacks value, I will stop listening. I'm not going to stop listening, but its importance is diminished. And then when you do have something important to say, well, I'm no longer on alert because you've kind of wasted the value. So save it for the ones where it kind of matters.
It's impossible to do that. I used to play with Susanna Barr, early on in my pro career, 3 years ago. We took down some big names, actually, Susanna and I. And she did this thing where she calls me you. And it's like, yeah, Susanna, I know it's mine. It's in the corner of my court. Like, you could never run over and get this ball. Like, I know it's mine. And I used to be so befuddled by that, Scott, until I realized, like, it's really hard to do the you, me only at certain times. Like for me, it's really an all or nothing. So I am guilty of the you, me at like ridiculous moments where the ball is so cross court, there's no way it would ever be mine. But I find it really hard to context switch.
Okay. All right. Well, so this is why we have these little chats. Like, but I would say it's like, if I was going to recommend, I would recommend the communication be the me you on balls that are between us where either one of us could get it.
100%.
And once it's outside, of that. Now, I guess if we're on pet peeves, I see a lot of this even at pro. You've got the high forehand volley put away. And as you're hitting it, I'm yelling, go! I talk about, no kidding. What did you think I was doing with that? All you're doing is potentially scaring me. Like you're making me process, right? You just put a hitch in my overhead is what you did by screaming go at me. And also it's like, it shows mistrust. Like, it's a little condescending, and it's like, you don't trust me to put that ball away, that you have to scream at me like that. I think that's the real reason I don't like it.
I am so guilty of this. I will work so hard to set up like a high floater to the forehand of the right side player, my partner, and I'll go, finish. Oh, I'm so guilty of this. And it's only when it's like, I just want them to speed it up. I want them to hit it hard. I don't want them to like do something cute, like a drop shot or a roll dink or a lob. I want them to rip the living daylights out of the ball. But I don't do it a lot, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of a pass. I think I would be really annoyed if someone did it to me. So I do completely hear you out. There is a player, Simone Jardim. If you don't know her, she is the female. Never heard of her. She's just been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Just an amazing player.
She was the first GOAT.
She was the first GOAT. And so if you watch her play, it's really interesting because she will direct traffic with her partner. She will literally say to her partner, like, go, fast, speed up, go. Like, she is really directing the traffic with like, as the ball is bouncing or floating just across the net, literally telling verbally her partner what she wants her to do. And I've always found that really interesting.
Yeah, no, there's like, some people might like be okay with it, or might even like, if you are a partner pleaser, then the idea of my partner telling me what to do every time helps me please my partner. So like that might work. Okay, can we nail down again? I didn't realize we've already talked about watch, but here's the problem with watch. To me, is the same as go on the overhead. It's like, if I'm hitting a reset or a third of some kind, and I yell watch, if I only yelled it when it was bad, then I'm fine with that. But if I say it every time, it could be good, and then I need to not be watching. I need to be going. So when you say watch, you're telling me to pump the brakes, and you've just, by you saying watch, you have just prevented me from an offensive opportunity when you hit a good shot. It has no value.
Put me in handcuffs and lock me up. I am so guilty of this. This morning, literally, Scott, playing with my sister, I go, okay, so if it's to my forehand, I'm going to say go, and Natalie, that means I'm going to drive, and I want you to go. Yeah. If I'm going to hit a drop, I'll probably say watch. And I look at her and I go, why did I just say that? I have to stop saying that word. What is wrong with me? Say drop. Like, why do I have to say watch? It's the worst.
And really what it is, it's the, like, no one feels 100% confident that this drop I'm hitting is going to be
perfect.
Perfect. And so whatever doubt, if I'm unsure, like, well, watch is just like, I hope.
It's like self-doubt.
Yes, it is.
Leaking out in language, and language is the wardrobe of our soul. We can't do that to ourselves. I'm going to just start saying perfect.
Well, I wouldn't, like, the bluffing isn't going to work either. It's like, why don't we just, like, the thing is, a watch is like, yes, your partner should be watching anyway. like you don't have to tell them to do that. But you saying watch, if anything, it is going to slow me down from making an aggressive move.
I'm cutting it out. I'm cutting it out. I'm in an abusive relationship with the word watch. We're done. I really mean it this time. I thought I meant it 3 podcasts ago when we talked about it, but I really mean it this time.
Yeah, I didn't know we talked about it before, but I do know that I don't like it.
I want to talk about, Scott, when you're mean to yourself as a partner. So I played with Anna Shirley. Hopefully she's not mad I'm bringing up her name, because I love Anna Shirley. She's a top senior pro. We played in women's split age.
I've played with her many times, so I'm okay. I'm here to listen.
And I was so excited to play with Anna because she is like bubbly and positive, and every time we see each other, it's, you know, it's all love and hugs and laughter. And we get on the court together, and I'm like, from the very first point, like, whoa, where's Anna, the Anna Shirley I thought I was playing with? Anna was like super intense, which is fine, right? Like intense is good, but also super hard on herself. And it started to like affect me. And I'm a pretty mentally strong professional player that does this for their living, but it was like exhausting trying to, you know, try and pick her up out of that like anger towards herself. And maybe if I weren't like me trying to always be positive, it wouldn't be so exhausting. So what I said to her was like, look, your partners can't be nice to you until you're nice to yourself. You can't be so mad at yourself. I can feel your anger. And even though the anger is not pointed at me, I can feel it, Anna. So you've mentioned you've played with her before, and I don't mean to talk about Anna specifically because she is awesome and I cannot say enough good things about Anna. But what do you do when you're playing with someone who's mean to themselves, angry at themselves, and do you believe what I said earlier, which is to be nice to your partner, it's got to start at home. You got to be nice to yourself.
Yeah, as I kind of prepared to talk about being a good partner and stuff, there's this idea of, well, when you're playing, should you be yourself? And the answer to my answer to that is no.
I agree.
Do not be yourself because what happens is because I can be inconsolable. I get so mad. I just choose to hold it off in a very important tournament or moment. But in rec, I can be so angry with myself. And it's like, I can't let me spiraling into a black hole affect like the partnership, the game, the match, this whole situation. It's like, we've all, I don't know if this has happened to you, but where you set up a game at 8 players, we got perfect numbers, we're going to go play, and within the first 30 minutes, one of them gets mad and leaves. And it's
I've never seen
dude,
that happen.
We have 8 people. You can't leave. It's like you can't emotionally hijack this situation.
What a mental midget.
Because you're mad at yourself and just leave. And to me, getting overly mad on the court because you're mad at yourself. It's like, well, I'm not being it's like I'm just being mad at myself. It's like, okay, but that's affecting your partner and it's affecting everything. You cannot do that. So that's no good.
I think that is the hardest part of being a good partner, is just being good to yourself first. You can't even begin to think about how to be a good partner till you're good to yourself.
But okay, to go back to Anna Shirley before that, like if you had asked me to describe that wouldn't have been on my list of things. I don't even notice is what I'm saying. I didn't even notice that to me, if she's saying bad stuff about herself, that feels natural to me. I'm like, yeah, that's about the right answer. Because I'm the same way to myself, whether I say it out loud or not. So it's like, it didn't bother me one bit when I played with her. I just had to keep staying positive.
So you're saying the opposite is like, if you want to be mean to yourself, go find a Scott Crandall who's also like kind of.
I'll agree.
The doldrums too, yeah. Who will agree with you and jump in your nightmare with you? Perfect. So we just got to pair you guys up together.
Yeah, I don't know, but I did want to throw in. I did want this conversation to include. to be a good partner, you cannot allow yourself to spiral down internally. The other thing that I think people do, like what a bad partner does, is when you get emotional, now you start. Sometimes it goes inward. Sometimes you spiral outwardly. Right. The first indication of the outward spiral, or one of the first ones, is the arguing with the ref, or with the people watching.
Oh, I had a player on one of my MLP teams that would get us into such a hole because he'd be arguing with the ref, fighting the fans, and getting cards like, red, yellow, whatever the color.
Can we just say his name, Brandon French, or
no? It wasn't French. It wasn't French. It wasn't French. My brother from another mother, Brandon French. No, it wasn't Frenchie. Is a different player, and
I say that affectionately.
I do too. Yeah. No, it put us in a hole because then once we get those cards, we have 2 more matches to go out, or sometimes 3 if we start with men's. And now everyone's got to be perfect. No one can throw a paddle. No one can say drop an F-bomb because we're on thin ice, and the next warning isn't a warning. It's a point deduction. Then it's a 2-point deduction, whatever the rules are. So yeah, that's the worst, is when like the fighting starts with the fans and the refs. It's like, just don't go there. Like, just don't go there.
Yeah. So it's like, to be a good partner, controlling your emotions both directions. Yeah. It's like that is, it's crucial. And you can, and I think we all have seen examples of what not to do. And when you see someone kind of going off on the ref or on people or throwing their toys, if you think about, what is their partner thinking right now? Or
stressful.
Does this person even care about their partner right now? And the answer is no, because they're so wound up around their own little world.
They don't.
But that just shows you how tough pro pickleball is. It is not easy, right? It's like a lot of these things on how to be a good partner. It's like I've used examples of my failures to know what good looks like, and I know what bad looks like because I do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is not easy, and it's not one of these things like a diploma where once you get it, you get it. It's like, no, I can sit here and pass the test on how to be the perfect partner, and then we'll go play mixed, and I can, if I don't control myself, I could make my partner feel a certain way that I didn't intend to, but I didn't control it.
Scott, we had a listener write in a question in anticipation of our How to Be a Good Partner pod. And she asks, how do you handle a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of partner? I play with someone who is just fantastic to play with if we are winning, but the moment things go sideways or we don't perform as well as they think we should against a lesser opponent, all bets are off. It is usually directed at themselves, but it is not fun to work with. Lots of eye rolling, paddle dropping, walking away, and just generally a bad attitude. Any suggestions on how to be a good partner with this type of player?
So I like that sounds like a mild case of the spiraling like inward we were talking about earlier. And I think the key to someone who's looking internally and like it's not going well is you've got to find a way to kind of distract them and give them a broader perspective. So like almost any way that you can distract them from doing that is going to be good. I think that's, in pickleball, it's great that it's like, it's usually 2 out of 3 games to 11. And after, if you have a bad game and you lose, it's like, hey, it didn't work. Us going straight at the problem this way didn't work. So let's back up, maybe try a different strategy, and let's go at this opponent from a different angle, right? And so to me, it's like back up and get some perspective and then come at it from a different way and see if you can get out of your own head and, back onto a path that might be more successful.
I think that's really good advice. I would also, I think I have more questions than answers. Like I would want to know, is this rec play? Do you play tournaments with this player? What are your motivations as a partner duo? If you're playing tournaments together and you're playing frequently, I'm kind of a fan of brutal honesty, of just being like, hey, like I've noticed when we're doing well, it's really good. And when things start to go a little sideways, you give me a little bit of an energy that I can feel. And I don't think you're meaning to do it. And I know you want to bring out the best in me. And when you're hard on yourself, I feel it. Like that would be kind of how I would approach it. But if it's just kind of rec and you play together, I don't know, once a week, I like what Scott said. Can you ask certain questions to zoom out, to bring the perspective a little wider? I actually really, really like that. I think there's also this question of asking yourself, when do you play your best? When do I, Jilly B, play my best? When my partner is doing XYZ or when I'm feeling XYZ? And I played with someone recently and they said to me, they were so angry that day. And I played with them a lot. And it was the first time I was seeing the anger. It wasn't Megan. And they said they were punching their paddle when they missed. And I was like, oh God, that would hurt my knuckles. And I go, you seem angry today. And they go, yeah, but don't worry. I play really good angry. And I thought to myself, sorry, I just watched you play all day long and you did not play well angry. And so I thought, wow, does that person after all these years not know how and when they play their best? And like, right, that's a question I ask myself every day. Like, do I play my best when I'm like predator and hunting the ball? You always hear me talk about like, I need to hunt the ball, Scott. Do I play my best like laughing and everything's okay and it's all good? Do I play my best angry and like a little edgy and competitive? Like we're always looking for that. And I don't think there is like I think every day you got to kind of dance with the girl you brought. But I do think it's a question we should all be asking ourselves.
In men's senior pro, this is pretty common. There's a lot of very fiery. There's a lot of arguing. There's just like we're just kind of a bunch of assholes, and it's like there are certain people that if they get fired up, they play better. So I'm like, I would prefer them to not be fired up. So yeah. I'm going to temper my reactions to get the minimum out of them.
Lull them to sleep. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So Scott, we've talked a lot about how to be a good partner, but we haven't talked about the inverse, right? The things not to do. Do you have 3 things to basically never do on the court with your partner?
If I was going to pick 3 things not to do, like number 1 would be don't coach. I think that's kind of a pretty universal one, but it's hard for know-it-all men typically. Number 2, I would say, and this is just sort of maybe a pet peeve of mine, is after a point, when a point's over and everyone's at the kitchen, you have a choice. You can turn to the center of the court towards your partner, or you can turn towards the sideline away from your partner and walk back to your return position. I notice if my opponents turn away from each other, I'm like, ooh, I've divided. Now it's time to conquer. So do not turn inward to your partner. The last one, and this is another thing that is really tough with pickleball, is it's hard for me to even say this, is don't give up. Mm-hmm. Like if you're getting iced out, your partner's getting all the balls, if they're not making the decisions or they're not making balls, pickleball can be a powerless feeling because it's like I'm not touching the ball, and our ego gets all wrapped around the axle, and it's like there's just so many things to deal with, and giving up is not an option. Like that just has to. It's like I have felt it before, and it's like, but if I'm in my best mental condition and I really want to win, it's like I am just going to keep fighting, and that's where you sort of kind of figure out, you learn a lot about yourself and about who you are and about how you compete when in the midst of this what feels like powerlessness because you're not getting the ball and things aren't going well. It's like, can I hang in there and not give up? Because the really easy thing to do would just be like, well, what can I do about it? Not getting the ball. Don't be that guy.
That makes a lot of sense. Trying to think what's on my list of 3 absolute no-nos. I would say no eye rolling, anything negative like that. Not being angry towards yourself. I just think that is going to bring down a partner who is more on like the positive side. And then 3 for me would be, yeah, don't coach. I don't need the coaching. Like, this isn't the time and the place for it. And no in-depth analysis, please. Is there anything else, Scott, you want to address philosophically or otherwise on how to be a good partner? I know this has been a jam-packed episode.
I actually think we covered everything that I had and more. So we did it.
Well, if we missed anything, you guys, please feel free to drop a comment in YouTube. Please don't forget to subscribe. It's super helpful, and you'll get notifications when we drop our next episode. And as a reminder, this podcast is available anywhere you consume your podcasts. You can also email us at thispblife@gmail.com. Scott, I am so excited for part 2 of this episode, how to get good partners. Do you want to give us a little sneak preview on what we can expect?
The sneak preview, I mean, I'll give the easiest answer. The easiest answer is to win. If you win, you get partners. So we can just start there. If you have this question, then you haven't been winning enough. So get out there and work harder and win, and then you won't have partner problems. But I'm going to do some thinking about this topic because I have been injured for the last 6 months. I have, time has passed, and I kind of have to get myself ramped back up with partners for next year. So I actually have to deal with this issue like right now. So I'm going to spend the next week thinking about it seriously.
Maybe one piece of advice, just personally for you, is you could start advertising that you and I beat Colin Schick and Elise Jones in a game to 25 last week in Las Vegas in a practice match. What do you think? Could that be helpful, Scott?
For sure. I mean, I think when people realize that I'm playing at the Challenger MLP level, I think that it's going to make me a pretty popular choice. That's not the only that isn't the only MLP Challenger team I've beaten. So but it's the most recent one and kind of the most important one. It's like,
there you go.
So that's such a solid team.
We were down that whole time. I knew we were going to win it.
I did too, by the way. And so, as we talk about, it's like saying like illogical positive stuff versus if we were down 10 to 22 and you're like, we're going to win this, I wouldn't believe you. But it was like 17 to 22. And I'm like, we could, when you say we're going to win this, I'm like, I believe you. That was very believable. And we did it.
I love it. All right, you guys, do not miss next week. We out.